Hello, this is Mr. Warner. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm going to be taking you through part two of our literary terminology. And we're starting with characterization. So in characterization, we see the word character, which is all that characterization is. Characterization is when the author creates a realistic, or what we sometimes call a three-dimensional character. This can be done through descriptions of the character's appearance, actions, the way they speak. Perhaps we might hear the character's thoughts or feelings, or we might see the way other characters react to that character. And through this, we get a feeling of the character as a real person or as a three-dimensional person. Right, comparison, which we hear a lot in the phrase compare and contrast. Comparison is when we look at the similarities between two things. These things are both tall. These things are both large. These things are both small. That's comparison. Right, connotation is really important. Connotation gets paired with denotation. Denotation, which you'll hear about later, is the literal meaning of a word. It's if you look it up in the dictionary what it means. Connotation is what we understand the word to mean, what it implies. The best way to think about this is if we thought about the word cute and the word beautiful. Now, if I call a girl cute, that means one thing. If I call a girl beautiful or gorgeous or radiant, that means another thing. Now, they all technically mean the same thing, that she, looks nice, but they've got very different meanings to them about what I'm implying when I say beautiful versus what I'm implying when I say cute, or even what I'm implying when I say hot. So that's connotation. So all those words have the same denotation, but very different connotations. Contrast goes with compare that we talked about before. Contrast is when we look at the differences between two things. So we say, well, this thing is tall, but this other thing is small. This thing is big, this other thing is tiny. So when we ask you to compare and contrast something, what we're saying is please note both their similarities and then their differences with the contrast. All right. A convention is it's shorthand. It's something that everyone understands to be true. So the idea that the hero is going to save the girl is a convention. And so when you go to a superhero movie, at the end of it, this is how it's going to work. Or when you hear thunder and lightning outside in a movie or in a book, you know that something bad's going to happen because these are conventions, things that are understood and can help set the mood or the theme or the plot for a book or movie or song or anything. All right, critical analysis. This is what we're going to be asking you to do a lot. It's when you break apart a book and you look at the language that it uses or the techniques that the author uses or the structure of the book or the symbolism of the book in order to better understand the purpose of the entire book. Deus ex machina. This is Latin for God from the machine or God in the machine. And what this means is when there's problems in a book, and then somehow at the end, through no real action of the characters, that problem is solved. And whether it's solved by God or an angel or magic or a special ring or something, that is Deus Ex Machina. Best example I can think of is The Wizard of Oz. So after Dorothy's whole big journey, after all her efforts to get home, after she defeats the witch, she loses her chance to go home when the hot air balloon floats away. But then Glinda the Good Witch tells her, all you have to do is tap those slippers together you've been wearing this whole time and say there's no place like home, there's no place like home, there's no place like home. Those slippers, that's an example of Deus Ex Machina, a magical device used to solve her problems right at the very end. Right. Epic simile. Now we use the word epic a lot and we use it to mean huge, and that's not what epic actually means. In this case, an epic simile is when we really develop the second half of the simile. So I want to describe, as you can see in this example here, her hair. And so I say her hair was like a waterfall, but then I don't just leave it at waterfall. I describe the waterfall, not her hair, which is what I'm really talking about, but the waterfall. And I tell you about the sun glistening off of it and the the shimmering of the water and all these other things. That's an epic simile. And we see these a lot in epics like the Odyssey, which some of you guys read last year, to describe, say, a shield, and you compare it to the sun, and you talk about the blazing fire of the sun, and you go on and on. An epiphany which literally means a showing forth, is a sudden realization. It's when something comes to you. So you wake up in the middle of the night because you've been sleeping on a problem, and you say, I know it. I've got the answer. That is an epiphany. And finally, this last one for me, and that is figurative language. Figurative language is any language that doesn't mean the literal truth. It doesn't mean actually what it says. So when you use a simile, or you use a metaphor, or when you use a hyperbole, or when you use symbolism, all of these are examples of figurative language. So if I say, my cousin is the size of a mountain, now, I don't mean literally that my cousin's the size of a mountain. I mean it figuratively, because I'm saying that he's very, very big. All right? That's where I leave you. Please feel free to rewind at any point. You can watch through these, pause, make sure you get these all written down somewhere or recorded somewhere. And good luck with the rest of the terms.